About a year ago, I attended a talk that Brian gave at the Volunteer Center in Sonoma County, and I was very impressed with him. And he reached out, and I shared some of my issues, board issues, and that type of thing. And he very gently followed up for many months, and he's just a great communicator, and that's what he is. He's a communication specialist. And he's also a team clarity expert and an international speaker and presenter. Let me just give you a little bit of his credentials, which are amazing. He has a conflict resolution certificate, which he got in 2009, and a master's in organizational development from Sonoma State in 2011. He volunteers with the Recourse Mediation Services in Santa Rosa and facilitates workshops, guardianships, and community mediations. He's a fellow of the Leadership Institute of Ecology and Economy from 2012 in Santa Rosa. He's a professor at Sonoma State, teaching leadership skills for resolving conflicts, and teaches communication classes at Santa Rosa Junior College. He's with the Volunteer Center where I met him, Wells Fargo in Concord, California, Golden Gate University in San Francisco, and the Center for Volunteers and Nonprofit Leadership in San Rafael. His expertise is in conflict alignment, strategic change initiatives, visioning, leadership, and coaching. And he's a certified master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, yes. Impressive, huh? He believes conflict is a natural occurrence and an opportunity to create a win-win for everybody. Oh my gosh. And he's owner of Brian Martin's Consulting. So anyway, I'm so pleased to introduce Brian and give him a big hand.
Yeah. Am I on?
You're on.
He told me that he wasn't, I just went to the bathroom, so he wasn't going to have it on. Good.
He did.
We're on the same page, so good. So welcome. Guys, what a warm welcome I got this morning. You guys, really nice to come in here and see all of you and be welcomed like that today. Can I move this? So, I want you to start out with a poem which always brings up the metaphoric language. So I want to do that. I want you to feel and think about where that lands in your body, what story you're telling yourself about yourself, the self-talk, that voice in your head, and just see where that lands, and maybe we'll have a little sharing after the poem. So one day, this is by Mary Oliver, it's called A Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble. And you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundation. Though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough in the wild night and the road full of fallen branches and stones, but little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. The stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice that you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. So that's my conflict resolution poem that I like to bring up, because it brings up, it's a family conflict with her. The voices around her kept shouting their bad advice, all these metaphors for, is that happening in our family, my family? What's the voices saying to me? But it's such a beautiful poem because it starts out, one day you finally knew what you had to do. Isn't that a great start for a day? Don't we wish we could could all wake up and do what we had to do and start it. So, anybody have a sense of where that landed for them? Anybody want to share? Be a little bit vulnerable this morning?
I knew I had to introduce you.
Yeah.
I knew after 25 years with the same company, I needed a change.
Yeah, I mean, the voices, so there's your internal voice, and I've been doing some research in that angle. What we're telling ourselves, this little voice, is what's happening in our lives. And it's how to change that, the little negative voices, like, you can't do that, you know, you're not smart enough, you're not, you're too old, blah, blah, blah. That really patterns our life going forward. So, what I'm telling all my clients and the people I speak to is change this voice here to something that's, not in conflict, but, for example, a neighbor that, was maybe kind of negative to me last week or something, my story is, they're a bad person, or, I make up a story about they're a bad person, but I don't really know their circumstances. I haven't stopped to ask them what's going on in their life that made them cranky that day. But I just, this is my story, I'm sticking with it, that they're just a cranky old person. So how about I ask them, next time I see them in the street, what's going on? How's your day, how's your month been, what's going on? And maybe I'll hear something about, I lost a good friend or something like that, or, gee, my car was in an accident. We assume all this, that everybody should just be perfect. We're not. So I'm asking you to listen again to your own voice, and to those voices that bring up a story about something's not working, something difficult happened with the neighbor, those stories, and we all hear those in our heads. So that's one of the tips. The main thing I want to get to is, in the work I do with neurolinguistic programming, and I won't go into too much about, Jay did such a great job about my sort of credibility as why I'm up here. And before we get into this, I do want to share that it wasn't always that great, because I went through a difficult divorce, and I had to deal with my kids and my ex-wife, and it got to be really tough to think I had this whole thing planned, and then I had this big shift. So when that happened, luckily I had some friends that were in the communications business, so I started taking classes. And the big turning point was when I realized that I had to skill up in communications. So those vital relationships to me weren't working. So I had to go out and learn some new techniques and tools. This is where the conflict resolution, the organization development, and the neuro-linguistic programming really got me excited, and I was able to turn it around and make changes in my own life, which are really, and now it's my passion. Sometimes the wound we have turns out to be our passion. So to pay attention to that too. What's the wound we have, or the difficult time we're having? Maybe that's the spring point for a new career, a new vocation, application. So that's kind of where I got started. So these are 7 virus words that neurolinguistic programming. Can you guys all see those? We'll go through them, but the first one's why. So if you have any small comments about how that word reacts with you, let me know. But, so if your boss says, why didn't you get that report in on time? How's that feel? If your boss comes up and says, you have a boss, probably not. Anybody have a boss? You have a boss?
I don't have a boss, and the reason why.
You're not married?
The word why. I don't have a boss.
Okay, so let's just go there. Let's go there.
But the word why
So the boss comes up, you're the husband or the wife, who would whichever situation. Why did you, leave the garbage cans out on the street last night? Well, I mean, what do we do? It's a defensive word. So if we want to have good rapport with our team at work or our family relations, what I recommend and what they recommend is use the word what. So what was your reasoning for leaving the trash cans on the out of the street? Because it goes in different. Well, neurolinguistically, we know that if you say why, it's a, whoa, it's a defensive word. I'm going to push the person back. So I'll say because a dog ate it or something. Just to get the person off our back. So, but if we say what was your reasoning? What was your strategy? It goes into the subconscious file, which, the subconscious registers everything. The light in the room, the sound, the cooks in the back room, the smells, all that's going in, millions of bits of information every second. So we don't need to think about, we have to remember everything. It's automatically going in the subconscious, the brain. But when we say what, the brain goes in there and says, oh, what? Well, I had about 5 things I was wanting to do last night besides bringing the garbage cans. I had 3 calls. And so what you're getting is some information that really happened, not just, well, the dog ate them, or some question that really wasn't relevant. So use something that you can get a good response. If you have a team, I work with a lot of teams through the boss. What was your reasoning for missing out on the team meeting Friday? And you might get a better response and an actual 4 or 5 good reasons why they couldn't make it. They were overworked, their car broke down. And it makes the person being asked that question, it lets them go in and really get some authentic answers. So that's one thing. How about try? Try what?
Trying is lying.
Trying is lying. So I want somebody, can I have a volunteer? You want to volunteer? I want you to try and pick up that pen. Yeah. Just try and pick it up. You picked it up. I want you to try and pick it up.
Scoot it around the table.
Use the force, use the force.
No, that's picking it up. So thanks. Anyway, so anybody remember Yoda? Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. I mean, try doesn't work. You can't try and pick up a pencil. You pick it up or you don't pick it up. And it's like when we use the word try, I'm going to try to make it. So what does this sound like if your best friend, you've asked them to lunch on Friday? I'm going to try to make that lunch date on Friday. Yes, about 50-50 they're going to show up. So what I'm asking is, and this is a pattern, when people use try a lot, well, they're probably not going to make it to half of the things they sign up for. I want you to choose or attempt to show up. I will show up. I will show up at that meeting on Friday. I choose to be there. Not try. Try is a weak word. It doesn't work. If you believe Yoda at all, and I think we all believe Yoda, that try doesn't work. So be more impactful with your communications. I will see you. And things happen. I mean, we know that car trouble, some things interrupt that.
First of all, Yoda's try not to do is one of my favorites. What's the difference between try and attempt? How are those different?
It's a different word. I'll attempt to do it. It's a little flaky. I'd rather say will or choose. But try is just, yeah. Attempt, for me, attempt is, I'm going to be in the game. Try is just like, can't really try. It's not as strong as will. How about should? When we should ourselves, guilt, it's a blame. It induces blame. Well, you should already know that. You should know that. And so we feel like, well, we're being blamed and we're not feeling good about ourselves because we should know that. We should know how to get to Santa Rosa. Well, maybe I've never driven to Santa Rosa before. Well, you should know how to get to Santa Rosa. You live in West County. No, if you've never driven before, maybe that's not, not it. So, I mean, that's not good for rapport. And the big word in neurolinguistic programming is rapport. So we want to stay in rapport with whoever we're talking to, whether it's a teammate, whether it's our family, it's our boss. And these words break rapport. So why breaks rapport? Try, should. How about the boss name? Well, you should be here on Friday, even though it's a holiday. Doesn't work.
Yeah, I was just interested in the use of the word neuro-linguistic. Has there been some sort of neurologic research, actual scientific research with respect to the use of these words? And so I guess my question is, why is neuro-linguistic programming?
So why?
You should explain that.
Try harder. Well, there's a reason. So these are PhD dissertation. The teacher who taught me NLP, through his research and his paper, he did a PhD on those 7 words. He did research, found out that how it worked with the neurology of the brain. And there's probably more, but these are the 7 most that really impacted staying in rapport in the language. So,
Well, doesn't, when you feel positive and smile, doesn't that neurologically, chemically change in the brain?
oh, totally,
Whereas
yeah.
negative, I mean, I feel that is true.
Yeah. Well, in these words, don't give you that positive feeling. So how about need?
I have a great one on me. My teenager, I would say, you need to do the dishes, you need to do your laundry, you need to do this. And she looked at me one day and she says, I don't need to do any of that. You need me to do that. And so I switched, I was reading a parenting book and I switched it around and I said, okay, if you choose not to do the things that are required to live in this household, then you choose to have the consequence that goes along with not doing your responsibilities. So that's how we got to teenager.
Yeah. So need in the neurological world, need is a biological. When I say I need it, it's food, water, and air. That's what I need to survive. So people that use that word, lots of times they're flushing a lot of adrenaline through their body. I need this. In other words, you're telling the body, I need this to survive. I need this report in by Friday. You don't need the report in. You want the report in by Friday. But it's not a biological need. And so the body, anytime you use the word need, the body hears that and goes into adrenaline flow. I need this. It thinks it's life and death. There we go. We think it's life and death. So, like you said, choose, I want. It's in rapport. It doesn't, this need thing is really toxic. So, change that word. Well, how about, I'm going to watch out here. It's a nice shirt you wore today, but what's coming? What's coming? Choose the negative, So how about use and? I mean, we're being subtle here. It's a nice shirt you have on today, and it's interesting how the colors match your So isn't that a little softer? Isn't that a little bit more rapport? It's not just like, we hear the word blood, it's like, well, I'm going to leave the conversation now because it's not going to be good. So Dont's interesting because the subconscious doesn't register don't. So if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, Maybe 99.9% will think of a pink elephant. So when we say to our kids, don't go play in the street, what do the kids hear? Play in the street. The word don't doesn't register in the subconscious. So again, what do you want? Can you play over in the side street today, after school? Can you would you please pick up your lunchbox and put it on the kitchen counter?
Balls are playing with outside.
Pardon?
Balls are playing with outside.
Correct, yeah. It's not don't bring the ball in the house, because they hear bring the ball in the house. Okay, here's the ball. Don't spill the milk. Oh, spill the milk. So it's subtle, but the more we watch the words we use, the more we can stay in rapport, we can stay stay out of conflict. And then hope is an interesting word because there's a bit of a religious tone there, and a lot of people say, well, I think hope's a great word, but it's a bit like try. How do you like this? So I hope you have a great day today. Try to have a great day. How about have a great day today? What do you want? I trust you're going to have a great day today. I mean, my kids make fun of me because I'm using trust a lot. They kind of know what's coming. But it instills the other person. I hope you have a great day. Well, they don't. I want to have a great day, but no. I want to have a great day. I trust I'll have a great day. I'm going to attempt it, which is a little bit weaker, and I will have a great day. That sets up the mechanisms in the subconscious to have a great day. Like I talked with the self-talk. The self-talk is always there, and this is the great statistic. When we're in a conversation, that self-talk, that voice in our head, is talking to us 3 times faster than the person talking. When they stop talking, that goes up to 6 times faster. So our conscious, or our inside brain, our self-talk, our self-image, goes from 3 times as fast as somebody talking to 6 times. I mean, this is neurological research. And no wonder we get stuck in these patterns of, well, I'm sick today. The whole day, are you going to be telling yourself that you're sick today? Because the body, then the body believes that. I'm sick today. Okay, well, if I'm sick today, this voice is telling me I'm sick today, that means I can't do this, I won't do this, I'm not going to feel good to do this, rather than just saying, I feel like I'm better. And the next hour goes by. I think I'm a little bit better. I think I'm going to have a better day. What happens? The body starts to reflect that, starts to change. This voice is really important. I think that's the main thing I want you to take home today. Is just this voice really sets up a lot of your day, your pattern of what's going on. You have a tough meeting coming up. Gosh, there's this person in that meeting today, it's not going to go well. I just know, I'm already nervous. How about saying, today's going to be different? It may not be different. I'm not a Pollyanna that this is always going to work. But when we start to change that inner voice to, something's going to happen today with that person that it's going to be a better outcome. They're going to listen better, I'm going to listen. Maybe it's something about me that I'm missing in that conversation with that neighbor that always has me thinking they're a jerk. Maybe it's something I'm missing. And today when I see, what? Today when I see them, I'm going to say, I'm going to stop this voice, and I'm going to tell myself, well, maybe something's going to be different today. Maybe I'll listen a little bit differently. Maybe there's something I'm missing in this conversation. Maybe I've got an old tape that says, well, because he drives this kind of car, I think he's a jerk. all these things are going on in our head. So that's pretty much those. I do want to share that I have sometime like a complimentary strategy session I'm going to offer you guys. And I've got a sign-up sheet. Come up afterwards and sign up. It's like an hour where we're just going to talk about what's going on in your conflict, what your communication style is, what do you want to do for your communications. And I'll just sign up, and we'll talk about that complimentary strategy session. So, is that about it? Yeah.
This is a token of our appreciation for your speaking today. And we have some work for you to do as well. That is photo.
I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try. I'm going to do it.
Choose mine.
Don't choose one, choose one.
I trust you will.
6845. You have to be in the room to win, right?
Oh, hey, buddy.
Thank you very much. Sure.
Why are you sleeping? Rich get richer. Actually, I'm referring to Rod. I'm referring to Rod.
Rod has the action. Give me the microphone.
Hello. You've heard this one before, but I'll run it by you again. You know the Glaswegians, and the Edinburghers don't think much of each other. But there were two living next door, and the Edinburghers were looking over his back fence, and the Ouija's out there digging this big hole in his backyard. And the Edinburgher says, Angus, what you digging the hole for? He says, well, I'm burying my wee parakeet. And Angus says, oh, that's a very large hole for a wee parakeet. And Angus says, aye, it is. That's all we say, aye. He said, aye, it is. It's inside your hat.
Trail to you
Until we meet again.